Let's go again. Can everybody hear now? So let me go back to the question. What are the 2 or 3 main characteristics you think you would want to see in a CEO of a Jamaican company for the next 10 years, over the next 10 years, given the situation in Jamaica and the world today? Okay. Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts? What are the main characteristics you would like to see? Okay. So, 3 pluses and 4 negatives. I want you to think on them. And okay, the best one gets it, hopefully. If it's working well, yes, the best one gets it. So, company promotes 3 pluses. Board observes performance before promotion. Scope of the position is customized to company needs. Executive gains experience interacting with board analysts, press, and shareholders before taking the top spot. And there's some negatives. There are complexity in organization decision making by having this interim position. That's the implication I get from that point. Responsibilities need to be clearly defined, especially if how they relate to the board and the CEO. Responsibilities need to be clearly differentiated from CEO. And the risk of becoming a lifetime COO if left in role too long. So here you have Chief Operating Officer being promoted. Okay. If there are no thoughts, any thoughts, please, let's hear them. No horse race. Okay. You might punish those who are not in his corner. Alright. Well, in that case, they've chosen the wrong person. Agree? That could be a additional negative, especially if talking about the external one, I think. Exactly. And there's opposition to an outsider, maybe he will have, maybe you feel he has to assert his authority and keep everybody in line. Let's hope not. Number 3, company promotes 2 or more internal candidates to high-level operating positions who compete to become CEO. It's like a tournament or a horse race. Board plus 3 pluses and 3 negatives. Board observes performance before promotion. Board does not commit to preferred candidate in advance. Executives develop specific skills needed to succeed. 3 negatives. Highly public and brings unwanted media attention. In other words, their media is trying to say, who will win the big race? Creates internal factions who advocate a favored candidate and often precipitates a brain drain when the loser resigns. When losers resign, often the loser resigns, moves on. Probably are a lot of people who are trying, who would look to hire this person. So those are the pluses and negatives of the horse race. 4th one. Excuse me. Inside-outside model. Company develops internal talent and simultaneously evaluate external candidates. 3 pluses and 2 minuses. Internal candidates develop new skills and experience. Develop the field between internal and external candidates. External validation assures board that the best CEO is selected. 2 minuses require significant planning and oversight. Breakdown in process can lead to erosion of trust. I would think if it's covered someplace in here, it puts a lot more stress on the internal people. Not sure what's going on. It's leaving. It's creating a huge landscape for which they have to navigate, try and become the one selected. Any thoughts on these 4 processes? What actually operates in Jamaica and which ones do you think are the desired approach in the Jamaica of today? So, given our local and global, given the local and global situation. Any thoughts? While you're putting all your thoughts, let me move on. Considerations in succession planning. Succession relies on the full engagement of the board and senior management. It's not a trivial exercise. As a best practice, succession planning is ongoing and includes preparation for both scheduled and unscheduled transitions. Scheduled transition, unscheduled when the person just moves on or falls out with the rest of everybody else, or he passes on. But the continual development of internal talent is critical, and companies should consider maintain a list of candidates they can turn to in an emergency. They should also list the primary candidates to replace the CEO in a planned succession. Okay. I have only one problem. I have a problem sometimes with some succession planning, is that maybe it becomes not a means to an end, but an end in itself. People tend to get over the focused on succession planning and forget about the everyday operations of the organization. Okay, when a succession event is scheduled, the board convenes an ad hoc committee to oversee the process. The directors should be selected based on their qualifications and engagement rather than their availability. You want high-level decision-making here as opposed to just any old group. The outgoing CEO plays an important role in succession, develops talent, coaches and mentors, challenges executives to learn new skills. So the CEO, the outgoing CEO, also has to help make the succession process successful and stress-free and without many ripples. At the same time, it's important that the board maintain primary control. The CEO should not be allowed to disrupt or influence the objectivity of the evaluation. We'll move on. The board should develop a written document that outlines skills and experience required of the next CEO. Profile survey yardstick against which internal and external candidates are evaluated. In other words, determine what are the main criteria, the main variables they would look for in a new CEO. And the outgoing CEO should remain behind the scenes but accessible to the new CEO to answer questions. We don't want the outgoing CEO to overshadowing or butting into the and stepping on the toes of the new CEO. Okay. This is something about the United States. Survey data indicates surprising lack of preparedness, and this wouldn't surprise me. The name of the game in management is you have a problem, you deal with the problem. You don't get to the short term, it won't, there will be no long term. So you often tend to focus on what needs to be done and what is in front of you. Okay? These are some interesting statistics. 51% could name a permanent successor if required. 39, that's over a third, claim zero viable internal candidate. Something is wrong in that company, especially if it's a big company. So companies expect 90 days to find a new permanent successor. That's a bit short. CEO is an important position. Makes decisions that have long-term consequence on a company. Boards spend an average of 2 hours per year on succession. Is that enough? Let me ask you that. Think on that. Companies emphasize emergency rather than permanent succession. In other words, they're not looking for successor and planning to have the best candidate, but usually if something happens, something traumatic, some emergency happens. How do you think Jamaican companies are doing compared to this? Better? Worse? And why or why not? I'd love to hear how do we compare. Lisa, Derek, Daron, Angela, Cheryl. Colleen, what are your views? How do we compare to this data here? All right? While they're sending in something for me to respond to. Evidence suggests that boards do not engage in rigorous succession planning. This might explain why so many companies are ill-prepared when the CEO steps down. Okay, I think that Jamaican situation is similar to the survey situation of Laka indicated. So it's an interesting bullet. Succession planning would be improved if it were treated as an element of risk management. Viable candidates should be identified in advance of transition. And you see the last point, succession planning is more than names in a box. Okay, members are mostly re-elected. Explain a little more. Members of the CEO is maintained or boards, okay. Okay, so boards are re-elected. There's pressure on them. I have one last question before we come to this. We're talking about boards and succession. It struck me about succession planning. There are some companies that have co-CEOs. In other words, they have two CEOs and they manage the company CEO function together. What do you think about that as an alternative to one CEO? Especially if you're looking for orderly succession planning. Maybe if somebody moved on or died or resigned or retired, that you would at least have one CEO who could continue. What about having two CEOs? What about the pros and the cons?